Hi, and thank you for visiting my channel. For more information, kindly subscribe and follow. Now let's get started. Jacob Fatu sent a message on behalf of the Bloodline on this week's WWE SmackDown. In the show's main event, he teamed up with Tama Tonga against Jimmy Uso and Cody Rhodes. Solo Sikoa lost to Roman Reigns on Raw's Netflix premiere. The Tribal Chief was forced to give up the Ula Fala to the OTC, who regained it for the first time since WrestleMania XL. To make matters more interesting, The Rock put the Ula Fala around Reigns' neck. Fatu delivered an intense promo before making his way to the ring. He specifically explained to Jimmy Uso the difference between the new bloodline and the OG bloodline. "Big Jim, the difference between our bloodline is your bloodline left you on the front line to deadline," Fatu said. Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga caused chaos throughout the entire night. They also prevented LA Knight from winning the United States Championship and were later victorious in the main event. Bill Apter discussed Jacob Fatu's promo from WWE SmackDown. Bill Apter discussed Jacob Fatu's promo from WWE SmackDown, mentioning that it was quite intimidating. He believed WWE also unveiled a more frightening version of the Samoan werewolf. "He is very intimidating, and it's a great line. But if you look at it from the wrestling fan's point of view there, it was pretty terrifying to hear that." Yeah. Solo Sikoa recruited Fatu and the rest of the new bloodline following WrestleMania XL. After Cody Rhodes dethroned Roman Reigns to win the undisputed WWE Championship, Sikoa took matters into his hands to form the new version of the faction. The leader of the bloodline was absent from this week's WWE SmackDown and hasn't broken his silence after losing to Reigns in Tribal Combat. It remains to be seen what WWE has in store for Sikoa and his bloodline. The night had been long. The roar of the crowd still echoed in the locker room, even though the air had cooled down. Inside, the members of the bloodline were still processing what had just unfolded in the Tribal Combat match between Solo Sikoa and Roman Reigns. The loss was heavy, and the implications were much heavier. Roman had decisively defeated his own cousin, the young enforcer who had seemingly been groomed to one day carry the mantle of the Tribal Chief. But for now, that mantle still belonged to Roman, and with that came both respect and the crushing weight of expectations. It was late, the clock ticking past midnight, when the arena lights dimmed for the final time. The exhausted crew began to pack up, the team prepping for the next city. But in one corner of the room, a powerful figure stood motionless, staring into the mirror. Jacob Fatu, the towering figure from the Samoan dynasty, stood tall and composed. His usual fire had not dulled, but his thoughts were heavy. He wasn't just any Samoan. He was a member of the Anoa'i family, carrying a bloodline that stretched through decades of wrestling legends. Fatu's gaze wasn't just directed at himself. He had seen what had happened, and he understood its ramifications. Solo Sikoa had been humiliated by the Tribal Chief, but Jacob knew better than anyone. Roman's reign wasn't just about victories. It was about family. The traditions of their ancestors demanded respect, and Roman had to be the one to keep their bloodline together, whether Solo liked it or not. As the locker room cleared, Jacob grabbed his phone. He scrolled through his contacts before stopping at the one name he needed to send a message to: Roman Reigns. But it wasn't just Roman he was speaking to. Jacob was about to send a message on behalf of the bloodline, a message meant for everyone involved, a declaration for all to hear. He wasn't about to let Solo's loss be a sign of weakness, nor was he going to let the cracks in their family go unnoticed. No, this was a moment for resolve, for unity, for survival. He typed, his words deliberate, as the phone screen glowed in the dark. Message from Jacob Fatu. To the members of the bloodline, both present and future. Tonight was a night of triumph for Roman Reigns, but it was also a reminder that the path we walk is not easy. The bond we share as family runs deeper than any title, any victory, or any loss. We fight for each other, bleed for each other, and when we fall, we rise again together. Solo Sikoa. I know that tonight's outcome stings, but understand this. The loss you took was not a reflection of your worth or your potential. You are part of this family, for a reason. Every warrior that steps into the ring with Roman Reigns carries with them not just their own dreams, but the legacy of a bloodline built on sacrifice and strength. Roman Reigns, my cousin, my brother, you have always held the weight of the world on your shoulders, and tonight, you did what you had to do to keep our legacy alive. But let it be known that your reign, while unshakable, must never come at the expense of the family. We are a unit, we are together, and that will never change, no matter the outcome. As for the rest of you, the members of the bloodline, know that this loss, this victory, means nothing if we do not continue to stand united. The game may change, the power may shift, but the heart of this bloodline beats for all of us, and it always will. To the future, whoever steps forward, whoever may come next, we are not done. We are the bloodline, and we will remain strong, no matter what. And Solo, my brother, remember this. The night is dark, but the sun always rises. This is far from over. Jacob Fatu. Jacob set the phone down, his thoughts clear. He had sent his message, not just for Roman or Solo, but for everyone who understood the weight of their family name. The bloodline was more than just a faction. It was a legacy that demanded respect, honor, and above all, loyalty. Solo Sikoa was still young, still learning what it meant to carry the mantle of his ancestors. But Jacob knew he would get there. He was a warrior at heart, and no loss, no matter how painful, would define him. Roman's path had been carved in blood and sweat, and it was up to Solo to learn from those who had come before him. The Inoai family had seen their share of conflict, from the early days of the wild Samoans to the emergence of Roman as the tribal chief. The family had always been in the spotlight. They had weathered storms before, but this was different. This was more than just a match. This was a turning point for the next generation of the bloodline. Jacob stood there, his thoughts racing, when the ping of a response came through on his phone. It was from Roman Reigns. Jacob's finger hovered over the screen as he read the message aloud in his mind. Roman Reigns. The bloodline will never fall. The only way is forward, no matter what. I know what I did tonight, but it wasn't just for me. It was for us all. Jacob nodded, his expression hardening. Roman's words weren't just a reaffirmation of his reign as tribal chief. They were a challenge to everyone in the family to do whatever it took to stay at the top, and that meant sacrifices. But it also meant that every member of the bloodline, from Roman to Solo, had a place, and that place would be protected. Jacob picked up his bag and slung it over his shoulder. He wasn't just leaving the arena. He was leaving behind a message, one of unity and strength. But it wasn't just for tonight. It was for the future, for whatever came next. There were battles ahead, both inside and outside the ring. The bloodline wasn't just a story for the crowd. It was their story, the Inoai story. And Jacob Fatu, like every member of the bloodline before him, would carry that story forward, through every trial, every tribulation, and every victory. The journey was far from over. As Jacob walked out of the locker room, his eyes met those of a few fellow warriors. He nodded, a silent promise exchanged. The bloodline was stronger than ever. The sun would rise again, and with it, the legacy would continue.